So we're going to talk a little more about the subject today, subject for artists. So let me show you here. Here we have an animal, something from nature. It goes through the camera lens. This is a camera. It goes through the camera lens. Click of the shutter, and there you have the image. Direct. Take that same image, reflected to the eyes of a painter, an artist. We've talked about what happens in the brain, what happens in the art soul. It circulates, comes out, the spirit comes out through the brush. All of this painter's life experience comes out, and that image is transferred then to the canvas. So you can see what the difference is. This is a direct image to image. Now, an artist, a photographer who's an artist will wait for hours maybe for that animal to be in the right position before he clicks that shutter, because he's looking for something specific. And that's the art of photography. But for an artist, what he needs is to set himself up, get his spirit right, get his harmony going, get all the channels opened up here to allow that image to flow through his body, his spirit, and out his brush. So what you see here from the artist is a different image than you would see from the photographer of the same subject. So with that in mind, you'll see then that the subject, as we talked about the last couple of weeks, the subject was dictated mostly by society. And the reason for that is that's the only way they had of transferring those images to something they could visualize. I mean, there were no magazines, televisions, photographs, anything like that. They had to have an artist draw it, and they didn't want this to happen. They wanted this to happen. They wanted the artist to be like the camera, to just do what it, just paint what happened here, Never mind this interpretation thing. Get on with it. So then when the artist did finally get freed up, as we talked about, the Impressionist freed up the subject matter, they could do anything they wanted to come through here. There was also at that time a revolution happening in film and books, and as it progressed, television, and now the internet. These have all taken these subject matters that used to have the painter do, now is done by other things. So the society really doesn't need that painter to do that anymore. The painter doesn't need to do that like the camera anymore. So that kind of leaves the painter with not much to do. That's why the subject matter got so crazy back in the 50s and 60s. Artists didn't know what to do. They were just calling anything art. They just didn't know what to do. But now I'm saying it's time to take the money and all that stuff out, and we can get back to business here to have this process, the subject here, be one of these things for the artist to work on. And we'll know what we're talking about then. This is what we're looking for here. So there's an artist for a subject. He can pick a landscape, he can pick portraits, or still lives. Those are three subject matters. In the landscape, that would be nature's activity, painting whatever he sees in the landscape, which is alive with activity. Portraits, that's human activity, what humans do, portraits of humans or what they do. Still lives would include human interaction with nature, buildings and towns and a cart with a driver going through a landscape. That would be in the still life section where there's human interaction, that the human has been injected into nature. So you have a range of subjects to choose from. So you don't let society decide what you see up here and what comes out here. You only do that if you're going to sell that. But if you're not going to sell that, then you will choose one of these, whatever suits you best. And you will allow this to happen. And this is what we're looking for. This is what we want to eventually fill our museums with. Subjects matters that people understand, that they know. They know this animal. Now let's see what happens to that animal when it goes through all this process. So that's what an artist has to do. You don't have to worry anymore about trying to do what the old artist used to do. You know, make portraits so that kings could marry some pretty girl and so on, because all that's done now down here with books and television. People don't need artists to do that anymore. But artists go back to their original role, observing and manifesting that observation through creativity and through all the things that we talked about onto this canvas, which makes it unique. It's a unique human activity we have here, as opposed to this mechanical activity here. This talks about humans, what we're like. This makes us different than every other animal on this planet, because we can do this. And it's passed down through generations of humans to see this. They're not interested in portraits of likeness of Paris Hilton. They can get that in a magazine. If you want to know what Paris Hilton's like underneath, if there is anything underneath, this is where you'll find it. Okay? So that ought to cover the subject. You have to choose. Don't let anybody else choose for you. You choose the subject. Show us what you got inside by what you choose and how you choose to do it. Go to my website, send me an email. See you next week.